The Film Basement is filmed in sunny West Hartford, Connecticut, in front of a live studio audience.
Welcome to the Filmmaker's Basement, where we're about to review possibly one of the greatest movies of all time. I'm Brandon.
I'm Andrew.
And we're going to be going over the movie we both saw this week, in addition to playing a game of Pilot Wings later on. And on the topic of the movie we saw this week, me and Andrew both ended up seeing The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, the Nic Cage vehicle that I have been dying for to be out for literal months now.
Yeah, we've talked about it for a while.
Yes, and I'm so happy it came out, so let's get into that. So, unfulfilled and facing financial ruin, a life imitates art moment. Actor Nic Cage accepts a $1 million offer to attend a wealthy fan's birthday party. Things take a wildly unexpected turn when a CIA operative recruits Cage for an unusual mission. Taking on the role of a lifetime, he soon finds himself channeling his most iconic and beloved characters to save himself and his loved ones. So I enjoyed this movie a lot. It definitely didn't disappoint, which I was very happy for. Very funny movie. Also, oddly, very, all over the place emotional-wise, which was something I was not expecting. I was expecting a straight comedy out of this, and this movie had, so many tonal shifts in it, but it also worked, which was really weird. How did you feel about it, Andrew?
I enjoyed it tremendously.
Yeah.
I went into it expecting a comedy, and I got, an actual movie. I was just expecting it to be just some meta joke about Nic Cage being Nic Cage for an hour and a half, and no, it actually had a plot and a twist, and
it had so much going on.
Yeah, there was just a lot going on that I loved, and the whole, and I know that we're gonna get into everything. I'll just go into that first bullet point that you have. The acting in it is great.
It really is. It's genuinely impressive.
Watching Pedro Pascal mark out over Nicolas Cage was probably the greatest thing about this movie.
He was legitimately amazing. He had the perfect fangirl energy to it, which is what this film required, because Pedro Pascal essentially is playing this drug lord who is essentially Nic Cage's biggest fan. Mm-hmm. And so we get to see, this whole little fangirl experience he has as Nicolas Cage comes to his birthday party. I
couldn't believe, how much I enjoyed watching him. It was if, somebody, saw a celebrity on the street and was just freaking out about seeing their favorite celebrity on the street. And that's the energy that he brought to the role, and it was fantastic.
And what I particularly love about that is because he goes so hard on it, it makes it even funnier, because the person he's freaking out over is Nicolas Cage.
I know.
Which is what makes it so perfect. Like you were saying, if I'd gone into this movie and the whole movie was just a meta joke about Nicolas Cage's acting career, I probably wouldn't have liked it as much. But there's details like this, where it's this dude, Pedro Pascal playing this fangirl so well, to the point where you can actually, he loses himself in the character, where it elevates the movie to a whole nother level. And on the topic of the acting, I also want to say Nicolas Cage did a pretty fantastic job being himself, which sounds it sounds like I'm giving him props where he doesn't deserve it, but he's legitimately very good at channeling his inner Cage.
He brought every aspect of what you expect Nicolas Cage to be like, and what he's been made fun of for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
He brought all of that to this role, and it's fantastic. It's so great when somebody, because I don't know if you've seen the SNL skit where Andy Samberg is Nicolas Cage during the Weekend Update skits. You'll have to watch it, because there was one of them where he actually showed up. So it was Nicolas Cage sitting next to Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And the fact that he can just accept that this is just how people view him, and he can make fun of himself, is amazing. And it's great. And I love that they did this.
He's such a good person to play. Like you said, he gets the joke. He knows that he's kind of a joke, and it works well to his favor. He's able to take the joke. I think what also helps is, we've been talking about, there's an actual movie in this as well.
Yeah.
It's not just, we're taking a shit on Nic Cage for 2.5 hours. It's, no, we're gonna explore Nick Cage at multiple points in his career and almost like go a little meta with what is like filmmaking and what are the kinds of movies he like works on, how he almost views acting. Like one of the bigger meta elements for me was the Nick Cage doppelganger that shows up, which is kind of like this mental image of Nick Cage like in his earlier career, like that's really like you're the best person ever, you're the greatest actor of all time, you're Nick Cage, man, you can do whatever you want. And like it doesn't happen a lot. I think it only happens like 3 times in the whole movie, but just seeing those like little moments of him just talking with himself and being like, wow, I kind of am a washed up actor, aren't I?
Yeah, the first time it happened in the car,
Yeah.
was it like on the way back from
I think
seeing his family or something,
I
or
think
on
it's
the way?
on the way to seeing his family.
Yeah, on his way back from, because
Yeah.
he was trying out for a role.
Yes.
It was just it's so unexpected, and
Yeah.
because I obviously you see like a young Nick Cage in the trailers, and you're like, what the hell is this all about? And then you realize he's just talking to himself as a younger actor who thinks he's the greatest actor of all time.
Which there's a fantastic moment in that first scene where he like pulls over and tells himself to get out of the car, but then you cut to a wide shot of Nicolas Cage sitting in an empty car, telling nobody to get out of it. It's fucking hilarious.
Oh my god, it's great.
Oh my gosh, there's the second one also has a really great moment where he goes to a bar and young Nicolas Cage shows up. Again, Nicolas Cage isn't feeling great about himself for the whole movie. It's like a running theme. But like that Nick Cage is so about himself that he is like, you need a confidence boost, and he goes up and he kisses himself. And for me, I think that was one of my favorite parts of the whole movie, because I don't know, it made me realize in that moment, like, I could see Nicolas Cage doing this to himself. I could see him having a mental image of his younger self that he uses to hype himself up. Like, there's something just, like, that feels so right about that.
I'm sure.
Level.
I mean, I don't know Nicolas Cage personally, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that doesn't happen in like real life situations.
Oh, no.
But I'm
like,
sure it does, like when he's prepping for a role,
Yeah,
and he
but-
wants to hype himself up for this role.
It's not even that. It's like my headcanon is like, I could accept this. Like, I could see that he does this. Which I think is a testament to just like how real he feels in this movie, which is also a really weird thing to say. But there's something like that could feel kind of fake about an actor playing themselves in a movie, because it feels very spoofy. It feels like you'd see that in like a 70s, like it feels like something that would come out of Spaceballs, where it's like, oh, here's a famous actor that's showing up or whatever.
Yeah.
And now we're moving on from it. But I don't know, it just adds a nice like element to it that makes him feel a little more real. It also gives you some like insight into who he is as a person, because that's another big thing that pops up throughout the movie, and what is kind of what takes it from just being like a comedy to something else entirely. Especially with how the movie starts out, it's kind of sad.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you're seeing this washed up actor essentially like kind of just losing themselves and like losing their grip on reality.
You kind of realize that, like, because the whole running gag is in life too, in like real life, is that he does a lot of movies, and he says yes to a lot of movies.
Yeah, because as he says, he's a working actor.
Yeah.
He brings it up a lot. Like he's always has work. He works. Acting is his work, and that is what he does, just for a paycheck. But yeah, as you were saying,
That it's, and you've kind of realized that you realize that it's like kind of like that kind of, how do I want to put this? It's like that movie trope where it's an actor in a movie
yeah,
who's like down on his luck and got divorced and is trying to do any role he possibly can.
yeah.
His Boston accent, by the way, is awesome.
That scene was also fantastic.
Someone who's from that area of the country is amazing. He talks about like splattering someone's brains on the side of a wall,
So,
but he does it in a pretty good Boston accent.
For context, this is at the beginning of the movie. Nicolas Cage is essentially the whole beginning of the movie is him being really excited about a role that he's like trying to get. So essentially, he's meeting with the writer of this movie to kind of like schmooze him a little bit and be like, "I love your script. I would love to play this role. This seems really fantastic." Blah 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 blah. But like the dude's kind of like, oh sure Nick, I'll call you back, whatever, and then Nick Cage in classic Nick Cage fashion turns it up to 100 and starts doing this like Boston cop.
He does a line, he does like a whole scene from the script.
Yeah.
Or he comes up with it on the top of his head. I don't really know if it was from this made up script or whatever, but off the cuff just starts going off in front of all these people and to this guy, this producer, and it's awesome. He ends up not getting the role, which leads him to do this birthday party for Javi, or Pedro Pascal's character.
And there's also another great scene right as I think one of my favorite scenes in the movie is where essentially Nick Cage is getting a divorce. He's been living in this hotel for a while. He's at his lowest low. He got drunk at his daughter's 16th birthday party. He drove home. He's at the hotel now, and he's trying to get into his room, but they've locked him out because he hasn't been paying his bills. Yeah. So he calls up his agent, and he's like, I'm quitting acting. I can't do this anymore. And his agent's like, Nick, what are you saying? I'm going through a tunnel right now. I can't hear you. He's like, I'm going to do the birthday party, okay? I just can't take this anymore.
Yeah. So, I mean, going to the next act, which I guess would be him getting to the island in Spain. Yes. It's still kind of sad because like you see Pedro Pascal start fangirling out about Nick Cage, and all Nick Cage wants to do is just lounge around, drink, and like go to the bottom of a pool and drink like at the bottom of a pool and just lay in bed.
Yeah, my favorite part about that scene. So essentially, Pedro Pascal is like again fangirling out over Nicolas Cage, and his two friends are also there, like being like, "You should talk to him. Go do it. Come on, man. This is your moment." Nicolas Cage, I don't know, like. I think there's kind of this trope, where like the hot actor or whatever like takes off their shirt and they're like all ripped, dive into a pool. I feel like this is almost the opposite of that.
He didn't even take off any clothes.
No, it's bad. He has a bathrobe on and it falls off.
Just walked. He walked into the pool.
He's got like a little gut. He's like what, 50, 60 years old at this point? Nicolas Cage is old. Yeah. So like he doesn't look fantastic, and he just has a beer in his hand and walks into the pool, sinks straight to the bottom. Oh man, it's just so perfect.
He finally gets like I guess one of the characters who's on with Javi gets him to go hang out with him. He's paying him $1 million. I mean, I would expect to get hung out with too. But then they start hanging out together and like they start drinking and they start being like, so the way that I thought of it, like this whole scenario was if you take The Interview, the Seth Rogen and James Franco movie when they go to North Korea to interview Kim Jong-un, if you take that but make it better and put Nicolas Cage in this movie, that's pretty much what this movie was.
You're kind of right, actually.
Because
honestly.
James Franco befriends Kim Jong-un when he goes and visits. That's all I kept thinking during this whole thing. And they're working secretly for the U.S. government. Like, that's all I could think of. Yeah. Was like, this is The Interview, but better. Yeah. And
what I also do like about this section, this is where we get our first, like, big tonal shift. Mm-hmm. Where it goes from being this, like, really sad, like, depressing, not depressing, but, like, a sad movie about, like, a washed-up actor. It's almost like he's finding himself again, and we're kind of getting, like, a return to form. Like, he seems like he's really into himself now. We see, like, there's a specific scene where I really see the shift, and that's, like, remember, when they stop the Jeep for the first time on that cliff and they run down to it? Yeah. And like what's his name? Javi is like, Nicolas Cage, they stole my wife. He's like trying to get Nicolas Cage into acting. He's like, the general is coming for me. And there's a moment where Nicolas Cage is like, I can't believe this is happening. I have to leave. This dude is crazy. But then something clicks and he just turns to Javi and he's like, it's funny too because I think even the cinematography style changes in that moment. Mm-hmm. It looks more filmic. Oh yeah. And we get a slow zoom in on his face, and Nick Cage is like Nick Caging out. He's like, "We gotta. How much does this woman mean to you, man? We gotta save your wife." And they jump off like a huge cliff together, and that's the start of him becoming like getting into himself almost, like, or I think maybe finding himself.
Kind of like getting out of his shell, like, because he's in this depressive episode where like he's all he wants to do is just be introverted and stuff. And then finally he starts, like you said, he starts finding himself again and finding like who Nicolas Cage actually is and then stuff. And
the kind of man who loves Paddington too.
Right. Oh my God, that was great.
That was such a good moment.
So Javi, he asks Javi what his top 3 movies of all time are. Obviously, one was Face Off.
Yes.
2 was some movie that he kept bringing up the entire time, which is some old German film that I guess is like really up there with filmmaking.
Yeah.
And then the third one, he just says it's Paddington 2. And he says, "Have you seen it?"
Well,
and then the next
Cage
scene,
is like, bullshit, man.
Yeah.
No way Paddington 2 is that good. And it's a hard cut to Nicolas Cage crying on a couch.
they're watching the end of Paddington 2 and they're both crying. And it's probably one of the greatest scenes in the movie because it's like you said, it's a hard cut and you don't expect it to
Which
come.
Is what I love hard cuts. I love it when a movie just has the audacity to just instantly cut to something else like that. And like you said, they executed it perfectly. Because we go from Nicolas Cage immediately saying, that's BS, there's no way this movie could be that good, to he's crying on a couch.
Oh my God.
Which is
fantastic.
Just so good. Which sums up a lot of the middle section of the movie until we get to like the secret agent showing up and they draft him into the CIA. Because apparently Javi, this whole time, was an infamous weapons dealer out of Spain, and then he gets drafted to kind of like spy on Javi. Which honestly, that plotline didn't do it as much for me. And the more I sit on it,
didn't for me either.
I feel like you almost could have gotten away with just not having it in the movie at all, and having Nic Cage kind of figure out like something's up.
Yeah, you definitely could have cut out the CIA element to it.
Yeah.
Although getting him to that point, it might have been a stretch if you didn't have those characters, just because it's Nicolas Cage trying to be fun. So like, yeah.
I will say I think that also goes back to one of the meta elements of the movie, where it's like I think it's almost a movie dissecting Nicolas Cage movies, like you said, but not just Nicolas Cage as a person, but the movies he's in. Because we get I don't remember exactly where it is. It's like somewhere in the middle to end of the movie, where Nicolas Cage and Javi essentially are like thinking about making a movie together. So they're coming up with ideas for like how a movie would work. And there's a couple meta scenes where they start like dissecting movies, and they say specifically because the movie they want to make is essentially like two dudes like going on a little self-discovery adventure together, which is what the movie is up until that point. But then they mentioned that nobody would want to see that movie. That movie would not be interesting to anyone. And as a result, like you wouldn't be able to get away with it. So maybe instead, what if we had like this whole kidnapping plot that happens where like this girl gets kidnapped and it becomes an action movie, so that way we can get people into the theaters. And that's what that kind of felt like to me.
Yeah, he's trying to extract information out of Javi, who thinks that he kidnapped this president's daughter, president of Spain or something.
Yeah.
And so he says that thing, or just like, people aren't going to go see that. What if we have some of this action? And then the movie flips and all of that starts happening.
Which it seems it's very intentional. Like they did that on purpose to exactly comment on that. Which again, as a filmmaker, I love that. That was awesome. Like it's funny on a comedic level because you're sitting there watching this like, oh my God, they're doing the thing.
And I love the callbacks. I love the callbacks to his movies. Like, they do. What did they do? Like LSD? Was it?
Oh yeah.
They did acid or something, or they dropped acid, and they're going through this town, and they start staring at people, and they think that somebody's chasing them. So they're running around this town, and they see another two guys and think it's the same people from before. So they start running and they get in the car, and Pedro Pascal gets in the passenger seat, and Nicolas Cage is like, I can't drive, and Pedro Pascal says, but I know you did all of your stunts in Gone in 60 Seconds. And he goes, okay, you're right. And he just gets in the driver's seat.
See, it's those moments too that really, going back to Pedro Pascal's like performance in this movie, it's those moments like that too that really just like amplify it and make him feel more real. Because there's a bunch of those. Like later in the movie, like they're running away from these like weapons dealers essentially, and at a point earlier in the film, they had exchanged shoes because they gotten really close to each other and they thought the shoes would look good on each other. So Pedro Pascal now has on these, like, I don't even know, like, he has on, like...
It was like loafers.
No, it's Nicolas Cage has
Nicolas
loafers
Cage
on,
has, like, these
and
sandals on.
Javi has, like... Oh, what are they called?
They're like
the
boat
skater
shoes.
Yeah, kind of like boat shoes.
No, yeah, you're right. They were like
Skater
the
shoes, like-
slip-on skater shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Converse, essentially. So they have to essentially, like, run back to their car. But they essentially stop a little bit before that, and Javi's like, dude, I can't make it. There's no way I can run to that car from here. You need to do it for me. And Nicolas Cage is like, dude, I'm in loafers. There's no way I can make it. You got the Converse on. Don't you run there. And Javi's like, no, I've seen you. You do your own stunts, Nicolas Cage. I know you're faster than me. And he's like, darn it, Javi. You're right. Which I think is also funny, too, because I think it kind of hits his ego as an actor a little bit. Because he's always mentioning how he's, like, an actor who never went away. He's always had his mojo and all that stuff. So it's almost like he's goading him using the one thing he knows how to goad him with, his acting ability.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just much to love about this movie.
I love because there wasn't very many, but I love all of the rock elements to it, because that's my favorite Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah.
Because I saw it. That was like the first Nicolas Cage movie I ever saw, and I loved it, and I like it. It's a good movie. But I just loved all the call outs to it. There was a lot of call outs.
Was that what they were doing with the wall? When they're
no,
like, okay.
I don't think no.
I thought that was from one of his movies, but I actually don't know his filmography all that well, honestly. So
I mean, it could have been. That scene was also great, and you see that in the trailers where they're trying to scale a wall.
I have a gripe with that one,
Why?
because it's in the trailer. That's why I didn't think it was as funny, because I already knew the resolution.
Yeah. They should have kept that one out.
Yeah, I think that one would have been a lot funnier had it not been in the trailer. And not
you're right.
Which is also my gripe. It's a gripe I mentioned later on in this. I think they revealed too much about this movie through the trailers. I almost feel like this should have been one of those movies that just dropped without a trailer.
I don't know, because like there was a lot of elements to this movie that were not like that I wasn't expecting.
That is
like
fair.
Like the actual story element to the movie. And I just thought it was going to be Nicolas Cage just shitting on himself for an hour and a half, but it ended up not being that, and it was actually really good.
And another thing I do love about that is Nicolas Cage has like a character arc. Like, he actually develops as a person, which is, again, something I was not expecting at all in this. Like, he goes from being the sad, washed-up actor, getting divorced from his wife, has no connection to his daughter, to, like, kind of realize, because of acting. Because he's this, again, professional actor who, this is what he does for a living. This is all he does. He lives and breathes film. And then turns into more of a guy who's like, maybe I just don't need this all the time. Like, maybe I should actually, like, kind of be with my kids and, like, live my life. And I don't know how much of that is actually Nicolas Cage or how much of that is just the movie itself. But like,
I have no idea. I don't know anything about his actual life.
Yeah, I was, again, genuinely surprised that there was more to this movie than just a comedy. It's like, he's actually developed. There's character arc. It's so cool.
I want to know how much of like that storyline was brought into reality or from reality. Yeah. Like if any, like, I mean, obviously it might not be, but like, did he really have that hard of a time with his kids, like when they were growing up, or what?
I'd love to know that. Because like, again, it's like, if it is like that feels even more real too, which would be, I don't know how I'd feel about that, but I think we've talked about this movie a lot already.
It's great.
I think overall we both loved it. I think this is Nicolas Cage's best movie he's done in a while. Like,
absolutely.
Definitely see it if you have the chance.
What was the last one that you saw that?
God, Prisoners of the Ghostlands.
Yeah.
I think the last good movie I really saw from him was The Color of Space. It's like, I think he did it in 2019. It's based off a Lovecraft book. And he plays like essentially this dad who's like, it's a whole thing, but he did a pretty all right job in that. But still had some hokey Nic Cage moments that were a little off from the rest of the movie.
Right.
But overall, again, definitely see this in theaters. I think this is really worth it. As somebody who loves Nicolas Cage and his weird, just his vibe, this was kind of like a movie that was able to encapsulate that in a really fun comedic way, and also in like a kind of serious examination of who Nicolas Cage is as a person. So yeah, definitely go see it. It's pretty good. Okay, moving on. Unlike last week, we actually do have a Pilot Wings this week, so let us go to that. Okay, so Andrew, you've played this game a million times, but for those who haven't, Pilot Wings is a game show where I pitch Andrew three show log lines. Two of them are real shows that apparently got pitched, and one of them is something I made up off the top of my head in about 30 minutes. And it's up to Andrew to essentially suss out which is the show, which are the real pitches, and which is the show that I made up. So, starting off. A comedy featuring two baby boomers who are fun, relevant, and living a selfish retirement when their world is turned upside down and they are suddenly left to raise their grandchildren. 2. An anti-romantic romantic comedy about the 46% of the population who choose to stay married, told through the point of view of three couples. And 3. A mystery comedy that follows four teenage admirers attempting to discover what happened to the object of their affection, a hot neighborhood mom who vanished off the face of the earth. All right, Andrew, out of these three, which one do you think is the fake one?
So that first one really stands out to me because it sounds like that show with Seth Green.
Seth Green, okay.
It's I don't know if it is. It was a comedy on Fox that lasted like one season. It had Seth Green in it, and I can't remember the name of the show, but basically it was two older guys and their sons, and they're all living together.
Oh, I think I kind of know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? I don't know if that's what that is.
Vaguely.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what that is, because I don't remember if they were left to... No, because they weren't grandchildren. Interesting. The second one is strange. An anti-romantic romantic comedy. It sounds... What? It sounds like a documentary.
What is this?
The 46% of the population who choose to stay married, told through the point of view of three couples. Like, I mean, it sounds like This Is Us, but like you're definitely not putting an extremely popular TV show in one of these things, because that's not the point of this. Although maybe, you never know, because it could be just super vague. And then the last one, a mystery comedy, a hot neighborhood mom who vanished off the face of the earth. That sounds dumb. Like I'm sorry if that's the one that you made up, but yeah, I'm gonna go with that one with the C, because that just sounds dumb and weird.
Well, I bet it. I hope it sounds dumb and weird. That's based off the song "Stacy's Mom."
Oh,
That's
all right,
what I
good.
based it on.
All right. So the Four Teenage Admirers is the band. Oh God, what was that band? I don't remember, but that's what that was.
Oh, that part I didn't know. I kind of like combined it with like Stacy's Mom meets Elvira, if that makes sense. I don't know if you know who Elvira is.
I know who Elvira is.
Okay.
I'm
I
older
don't
than
know.
you. Like,
But yeah, no, I've had a weird obsession with that song lately. It's been living rent free in my head, so I had to get it out somehow.
It's funny. That's why my kid's name is Stacy. If I'm being completely honest.
Oh man, that is unfortunate. Okay, so the first one I hadn't. So this is a theme. It's called Chevy. I was supposed to start a Chevy Chase.
What?
I don't know why they thought that was a good idea, but it got passed over. But it was turned into a TV movie, which is probably why you've never heard of it. But the second one also got turned into a TV movie. It's called The 46 Percenters.
A Lifetime movie or something.
I think it was ABC. I think
Weird.
these were all ABC things.
That's so weird.
Very
it's funny
strange.
that the first two reminded me of something that was not to do with anything, or with that actually was. But
Yeah. So yeah, that's Pilot Wings
funny.
for this week. Definitely a weird one. I will admit. I think I've used that first one before, but I couldn't remember. First or second one, I can't remember. One of these I used, I think. So I'm gonna have to start making a list of these things. I've done way too many of them.
oh, I didn't even remember. I mean, we've done so many
Fair
of them.
enough.
So,
But moving on, let's talk about some of the movies that are coming out this week. And a little preface to this. We're recording this a little bit ahead of time, I think. So I think it would be smart to talk about, because I was thinking we release this next week. So talk about the movies that are coming out May 6th.
down,
that on
because
IMDb?
there's a movie coming out May 6th that I am going to see.
I know exactly what it is. I think I might also see that, but I think I have a backlog I need to work through first. But Andrew, what is the movie that you want to see?
It's the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It's a movie that's supposed to come out 2 months ago. And I really want to see it because it looks so good. And
It
apparently
looks strange, which is, I think, a good compliment for this movie.
they have said that this is going to be, in the terms of cameos, on par with Endgame and Infinity War.
Well, I guess if he's traveling through a multiverse of different dimensions, it kind of makes sense.
So we've already seen, we've already seen Zombie Strange. We've already seen Dark Strange, which we've seen in the What If TV show from Disney Plus. Shameless plug. And we already know that Patrick Stewart is coming back as Professor X.
Okay, because I thought that's what they were doing in the trailer, but I couldn't quite tell if that was him. His voice sounded a little bit off.
They're bringing in the Marvel Illuminati.
Okay, because I figured that's what they're... I don't know a lot about Marvel, but for some reason I know about the Illuminati.
Yeah.
So, okay, that makes more sense.
So the rumor is that, well, we know Patrick Stewart is going to be in it, but the Illuminati consists of all of the smartest people from Marvel. So it's Doctor Strange, Doctor Strange, Professor X, Tony Stark, Mr. Fantastic, and I think Vision.
Oh, Mr. Fantastic's going to be a weird pull.
So the rumor is, because this was a thing back in 2007, when Robert Downey Jr. got cast, the rumor is that Tom Cruise is going to play Tony Stark because Tom Cruise was in line to play Tony Stark back in 2007. So in a different multiverse, Tom Cruise got the role of Tony Stark. I don't know, because this is all speculation. I don't know if we're gonna get Mr. Fantastic. I really hope that we do, and I hope it's the original Mr. Fantastic from the original Fantastic Four, because I want them to save the reveal of the new Fantastic Four for the actual movie, or another cameo, because these are all different multiversal characters.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart's Professor X might be the same character from the original X-Men, because the X-Men aren't in the MCU yet, and that could actually pull them into, because Fox now is owned by Disney, and we've been waiting for all the mutants to be introduced into the cinematic universe. So I really want Wolverine to come back for one more.
Don't they have a new Wolverine? Who is it?
I thought
it was some famous actor.
We don't know yet if there's going to be it's not been announced officially.
Okay.
But I'd really want Hugh Jackman to come back for one more. He's I think he holds the record for most movies playing the same character. It's 13 times.
Really?
He's played Wolverine in 13 different movies.
I'm surprised it wasn't one of the main Marvel dudes, like Captain America or Iron Man.
Well, they have because Wolverine has been in so many cameos, because he's been in every single X-Men movie that they've ever made, and he's done 2-3 of his own movies, and it equated out to 13 or something.
Damn, good for him. Okay. Well, I mean, hey, Doctor Strange is going to be interesting. I'm very hopeful, because I actually do want to see it, because I do like the whole universe.
This is
stuff.
Kicking off. I know, No Way Home kind of was kicking it off, but this is really kicking off the next step in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because after this we get Black Panther 2 and something else.
Huh.
I think Thor: Love and Thunder is coming in a couple. We just got a trailer for it.
Mm-hmm. Natalie Portman is Thor, right?
Yes, Natalie Portman got
interesting choice, but
female Thor, which is awesome. So yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder is July, and then I think Black Panther is like a couple of months after that, which we're still not sure how that's going to work with Chadwick Boseman passing. But
wait, he was the lead. He was the Black Panther, right? Oh.
Yeah. So
That's
we're
weird.
like, people still aren't sure like how that's going to work, and if someone else is going to take up the role, or if it's going to be his sister who picks up the role as the next Black Panther, Shuri. But I don't know.
We shall see.
Yeah.
As for me, I don't really have anything else I'm interested in this week. There's not a lot coming out overall for this week. There's definitely something I'm interested in coming out next week, but I don't really want to talk about that yet because I still have to catch up on my backlog. Mainly, I need to see The Northman, and I need to see Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I also still have to see those.
Yeah.
So you're not alone in that.
So I'll probably be doing one of those two in the coming week. So just keep an eye out for those, I guess.
I'll probably be doing those. I'll probably do one this week, and I'll do another one after Doctor Strange. I'll probably do The Northman, just because I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to stay in theaters for a while.
I would hope so.
It's apparently really good.
That's what everyone's been saying, and that's why I want to see it, because it looks awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on that note, why don't we close it out for this week? Thank you all for listening to Filmmakers Basement. Andrew, do you have anything you would like to plug?
Nope.
Cool. I don't have anything. Actually, no, I do have something I'd like to plug. Watch The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talents.
Yeah.
Please. That movie is fantastic.
Please go give Nicolas Cage all of your money, because it's definitely worth it. Yeah,
he needs your help. Alrighty. Thank you all for watching. We will see you around next time.